Mountain Stellar Crew by MacArthur here for the July edition of In the Sky. Well, here I am, the 200-inch Hale telescope at Palomar Mountain. It is unbelievable. You know, we are in this hobby, we are in this thing that we love to do, to look through telescopes, but it's also fun to go visit telescopes. You know, you got the 200-inch here, you got the 100-inch over on Mount Wilson. There are so many telescopes to see here in California and throughout the United States. So, well, throughout the world. So while you're enjoying, observing through your telescope, go visit your local observatories or other observatories around the world, because it is just fascinating to see what our hobby has done and has become. So get out there, check out other telescopes. But here we are. It is July. We are in the thick of Milky Way season. So get out there, observe these, not necessarily galaxies, but nebula and star clusters. Observe our Milky Way galaxy and some of those beautiful star fields we have. So get out there, observe, and let's talk about what we got going on in the sky for July 2025. So what's up, Stellar Crew? So it's July. I'm not in the classroom because, summer break. But hey, that just means I have more time to stay up late and observe. So I thought I'd, come to you at night. I got my scopes out. I got my SVX 152 over there. I'm using that for my visual scope tonight because I just love the views through it. Got the 9mm Optimus eyepiece in there. Great views through that guy. Now, if I need to, I can bump it up with the 4.7, which is over here in my eyepiece case, right here. Yeah, 4.7. Now, I also have, some other fun toys. I have the 2882 right here. Yeah, I can play with that one. And then somewhere in my eyepiece case, where did it go? There it is. Haha. I have the 30 millimeter flat field 70. So I got it all. I got wide field. I got high magnification. So it's gonna be great. Lots of fun stuff to look at tonight because there's so much. And I got my SVX 90 over there, 90T, and that's got my astrophotography rig on there. So let's go. It is July. There's so much to look at in July, so much to do. So let's talk about what we got going on in the sky for July 2025. So here it is. Happy Aphelion Day. We are actually at the furthest point in our orbit from the sun. I know that's weird for us in the northern hemisphere to think that because it's summertime. But remember, for our friends down in the southern hemisphere, it's wintertime. But we are actually in our furthest point in Earth's orbit, about 95 or so million miles away. So there you go. We are furthest from the sun in July and closest to the sun in January. And that's happening on July 3rd. So on July 3rd, we also have the waxing gibbous moon up there in Virgo, right by Spica. So that's a cool pairing. Now, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you do have that opportunity to see an occultation. So how fun is that for you all down there? Now, on July 5th, in the morning of July 5th, the Pleiades and Venus are making a really nice pairing. Actually, you have the Pleiades and then you have Venus and you have the Hyades, kind of the head of Taurus, the bull. So you kind of get this really nice kind of grouping up there. So definitely check that out. That's in the morning. So there you go, because the Pleiades and Taurus tend to be a fall object, but you can get them in the morning. And then on July 6th, Saturn and Neptune are pairing really nicely together. So yeah, there you go, about a degree from each other. You get kind of two of our outermost planets. Neptune's an interesting one because it kind of has this bluish, kind of stellar but non-stellar. Like you can tell that it's Neptune when you look at it and compare it to the other stars. Because if you pump up the magnification of, depending on your aperture and your seeing conditions, you can get a disk, which is pretty cool. So there you go. Saturn's always a crowd pleaser. Now I'll talk a little bit about Saturn here in a little bit. On July 7th, we have the waxing gibbous moon near Antares. So we're really close to that full moon, but you got that waxing gibbous moon near the brightest star in Scorpius. Now, if you're again in the southern hemisphere, Australia, South Africa, Namibia, you will get an occultation. You'll get to watch the moon pass over Antares. And actually in the southern hemisphere, that's going to be a really cool treat because for y'all down there, Scorpius is directly overhead. Like, if you've ever been to the southern hemisphere to see that, I mean, it is amazing to see the galactic core right overhead. So that'll be a really cool thing to catch right there. There we are. Okay, July 13th, in the morning sky, Venus is actually in the head of Taurus the Bull. So you're going to have kind of that reddish orange Aldebaran. And again, you have the Hades, which is the V, the head of the bull. You have Aldebaran here, and you have Venus. So kind of like the white eye of the bull and the red eye of the bull. So that'll be kind of fun to check out on July 13th. On July 16th, the waning gibbous moon is near Saturn and Neptune. So again, Saturn and Neptune close to each other, and then you're going to have that waning gibbous moon up there. So kind of a nice little grouping there for you. On July 20th, the waning crescent moon is down there with the Pleiades. So, I am a sunset to morning observer. I do have some friends that like to get up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and do morning observation. To each their own. But if you are one of those morning observers, there's a lot of fun stuff for you to look at. So again, you got the waning crescent moon hanging out with the Pleiades. And then on the 22nd, the waning crescent moon kind of splits the distance between Venus and Jupiter. Jupiter is going to start getting visible low in the morning sky. So the moon's going to be right there between both of them on July 22nd. Now, Pluto, opposition July 24th. So that means it is up all night long. Midnight's going to be a good night around midnight, 1 o'clock when it's at its highest. It's a challenging one. We'll talk about that when we get to the planets in the solar system. So we'll let that. But Pluto, on the 28th of July, the Mars and the waxing crescent moon hang out low in the western sky. So Mars is pretty much done. Like, you can still see it through your telescope. You can still get it, but it's not going to have all those features that we saw this past winter. But it is fun to see Mars hanging out with the moon, the crescent moon. So check that out on the 28th. And then we got a nice little meteor shower on July 31st. It's better placed for our friends in the southern hemisphere, but we have the southern Delta Aquariid meteor shower. So check that out. Should give us some nice meteors, kind of, lower in the sky for us here in the northern hemisphere. But, meteors, if you're at a dark sky location, you can get a few sporadic meteors throughout the night. August is coming up, the Perseid. Woo! I love that meteor shower. All right, so let's talk about what we got going on for our solar system this month. Now, like I said, Mars is it's fading out in the western sky. Okay, it's kind of done. All right, Venus, Jupiter's coming back. Venus is up in the morning sky. Actually, all the planets are kind of up in the morning, except for Pluto. Pluto will be at opposition. So you got Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Jupiter, Venus, all kind of in that morning sky. Venus or Mercury kind of bounces around. But let's talk about the sun, because the sun is still going. We are at solar maximum. I know some of our friends in the kind of the northern tier states in Canada have gotten some great displays of the northern lights. Also, some of our friends over there in Europe, aurora australis. So if you're in the southern hemisphere, pay attention to that. I know the South Island of New Zealand, kind of southern Australia and Tasmania, and, of course, Antarctica. So right now the aurora australis are really going. So the sun's been going. And check out that picture right there that Kevin got. That is the ISS transiting across the disk of the sun. How cool is that? Nice work on that image. But Pluto is at opposition. Now, I've seen Pluto. During my undergrad, I worked at Lowell Observatory, so I had the pleasure of talking about the discovery of Pluto there, and then actually did with the 24-inch Clark there spot Pluto. Now, that was around 2000 to about 2003 when Pluto was pretty close. I mean, it was like a magnitude 13 and a half. It was just after its perihelion, where it was closest to the sun. But now it's getting further and further and further away, and it's about a 14th and a half magnitude. But I did shoot it last month in January. That is it. That is actually my shot of Pluto. And if I start this video, these are 2 consecutive nights in June, and I got it right there. So it was the middle of June. I'm trying to remember the dates. I can't remember the dates. I want to say it was like the 16th, 17th, 15th, 16th, somewhere around there. But that little dot moving back and forth, that is Pluto. So that is with my SVX 152, and I am using ASI 585 mm. So I use the monochrome to do that. So you can do it. There it is. I've seen it through the 24-inch Clark. I actually have gotten it through my 16-inch Dob before. I was pretty stoked to be able to get that little change there between just one night. So super cool. Give it a go. Now, another fun thing that you should all give a go is Titan. Now, yes, Saturn is up in the morning. But what's great right now is because we just passed ring crossing. So I know last fall we were going this way, and now we're coming back up a little bit. But we're still getting Titan shadows. So we just, there was a couple of them in June, there's a few in July, and there's a few more in the fall. But after that, we're done for the next cycle, like 12, 13-year cycle. So I actually was able to spot it with my 6-inch, my 152, and you can see that little shadow of Titan right there on Saturn. Sky and Telescope had an article about it, about the shadow transits and things like that. So definitely check that out. Look it up on Sky and Telescope. I know Stellarium's done a really good job, and also I used Sky Safari to help me figure out the time and date. But Sky Telescope had a great article about Titan and getting that shadow because it was pretty cool. With Jupiter, you see the moon transits often. Like you can get a couple a night, and it's really cool to see that. But not Titan, because that ring crossing only happens. We have the season. I think it's about every 12 to 13 years. So check it out. It's really cool. And again, the Sky Live. Great website to use for knowing what comets are up, what asteroids are visible. I've used the Sky Live to help me locate Pluto. This time around, I use Sky Safari and Stellarium. So get out there and observe. I mean, we're kind of in a weird planet. They're up in the mornings, guys. So you morning people, you'll get those. Us evening people, we're in a little bit of a planet drought. But we got Pluto, we got the sun, the moon. So get out there and observe that. Moon phases. There they are. July 10th is your full moon, and the new moon is at the end of the month, July 24th. So get your observing times planned. There were a lot of star parties in June. I know, like you had, the Grand Canyon Star Party. You had Rocky Mountain Star Stare. Bryce Canyon. You had a ton of them, right? The Nebraska Star Party is at the end of July, so there's still a star party you could hit up, and I know there's probably a few more. But the new moon is July 24th at the end of the month. So plan your observing sessions accordingly. All right, so it is Milky Way season. We are in the heart of it. There's so much. Like, I honestly had a hard time listing things and trying to narrow it down because there's so much to look at right now. M92. So I mentioned M13 last month, but we have M92. Both are amazing globular star clusters in Hercules. So definitely check out those. M22 in Sagittarius, right at the top of the teapot. Great one to look at. M4 in Scorpius. Hold on. Let's see here. I'm gonna hang on one second. So let's see. I'm gonna look at it real quick. Let's go catalog object down. I'm gonna go Messier object. We'll go M4, enter, and go to. I think M4 is such a cool globular star cluster. It's right over there by Antares, and I'm gonna kind of fade out my lights here a little bit. I wonder. Hopefully it's high enough. Oh yeah, it's totally high enough. All right, so we're gonna turn off my light here. I want to see this thing. All right, we got the telescopes out. Let's go for it. I got this pesky street light over here, so it's nice to have these things that can block out the light pollution. Yeah, there we go. Got it there, right there. Yeah, it is just such a nice globular. It's it's not like M13 or M5. It's kind of dispersed out a little bit, but it's just such a really cool globular star cluster to look at. It's M4. You can definitely check that one out. M92, M22. It's just so many cool globulars to look at. Now, we also have some beautiful, there we go, some beautiful open star clusters. This IC 4665 is in the shoulder of Ophiuchus, and it's a nice open. It's open. It's got a great grouping of stars. So check that one out. C75. This is going to be hard for some of you up in the north because it's kind of down low, kind of at the bottom of Scorpius. But that's a great star cluster to get to. I personally really like M6 and M7. If you look at Robert's picture there of M6, the butterfly cluster, it is a great cluster. And if you get it, I mean, if you're up in Canada, higher latitude, it's down low. It's by the hook of the Scorpion, but it's a really nice cluster. So is M7. M23 is a great one. And M11 is a classic, the wild duck for sure. It is a good one to get. And then up M29, way up there in Cygnus. Ophiuchus has some really great globulars. So we got M10 and M12 right there. So Jerry got a great picture of that. I wanted to share that with you guys. So that's a good one to get to. Honestly, there's so many. You can just scan through the Milky Way, get those nebulas and open star clusters. Open star clusters are great. Visually, the SVX line and the clarity and the pinpoint stars, I love visual. I've been doing visual, but these telescopes just do amazing job with star clusters. Now, y'all into astrophotography know that these telescopes do a great job with nebula. I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. I've been working in monochrome and doing a little bit of H alpha, and it's been fun. But I am so impressed with the images you guys get of these nebulas. I mean, the Trifid is a great one, and what's great about the Trifid is you have that really nice that hydrogen region, the Mission Nebula where the new stars are forming, and then you have the reflection nebula part. So it's kind of two great nebula. I love it. I've been looking at the Trifid for a long time. The Swan or the Omega, I like it because it does look like a little swan kind of wading in water. Again, great emission nebula. And then M8, the Lagoon Nebula. Just great. Actually, let's get it. Oh, let's see here. I think I can. Let's see here. All right, let's go here. We're gonna go catalog object. I think I'm gonna go M17. Let's go Messier. There we go. 17. Enter. And go to. Perfect. So let's swing on over there. Oh, it's going to flip because it's going to go across the meridian. All right, we'll watch it do its meridian flip. So M8 is one of my favorite objects. I have been looking at M8, the Lagoon Nebula, since I was a kid. And look at that image that Ken got of it. Just really nice. And what I really like about it, it's just great nebulosity. And then I'm grinding some coffee back there. So great nebula. The open star cluster, I love that. You have this embedded open star cluster inside the Lagoon Nebula. And don't be afraid to use filters, whether you're doing monochrome or stuff like that, or visual. I hit these with the UHC filter in light polluted or in dark skies, and it does help pop out that nebulosity a little bit. So check that out, definitely. This is the area that visually is hard because there's not much there, but when you hit it with, filters and you do astrophotography with it, Rho Ophiuchi. I have seen just some amazing images y'all have gotten. All right, I think we're there. I'm gonna go look at the Swan Nebula. All right, so. All right, let's see here. Yeah, buddy, there she is. Got a little bit of wind, so the seeing is a little off. But actually, I'm gonna drop in this 70 here, because let's drop in the 70. All right, let's see here. What's great about dropping in a wide field is you can get some of that star cloud and other nebulosity in there. Yeah, unbelievable. I love it. I love the detail and kind of that swan kind of just sitting in water. And wide field is so good to get that. So sorry, I know I'm outside. I'm observing. So the Veil, the North American Nebula. We got Cygnus up there. you get the North American Nebula with the Cygnus Wall. And again, astrophotography, you guys can knock it out. If you want to do it visually, you do have to use filters to kind of help pop it out. UHC helps out with that. It's great. So North America, the Veil. I love the Veil. Now, O3 and UHC do a great job visually with this. And depending on your aperture and your seeing conditions, you can see like structure in it. Get the East Veil or the West Veil. Amazing. It is gorgeous. And I've seen you guys get some great images of that. So check that out. And then we also have, got to get some planetaries. The Ring Nebula, summer classic. So don't forget that. Also the dumbbell. And I've shot these with the 152, and it's fun. They are easy to get. They are fun to get. So visually, get those rings. With the dumbbell, you get that. With the dumbbell, depending on your seeing and your aperture, you can actually get the little planetary nebula in the middle. So many nebula, so many clusters. So it is, we had galaxy season in the fall or in the spring, and now we are in Milky Way season. Star clusters and nebula aplenty. All right. So now got a few little galaxies here, M94, the Croxi Galaxy. Brian did a phenomenal job. I don't know if you guys saw that up on the socials, but holy cow, look at the detail with he got there with his 152. So great halo around there. You get the spiral structure, and that's up there in Canis Venatici. Well, Ursa Major and Canis Venatici still totally up there. So you get some of those, M81 and M82 are kind of getting low, but you can get the Whirlpool. You can get M94. You get some of those galaxies up there too. The Whirlpool is just a fun one to get to. You see the spiral and you see the galaxy next to it that it's, interacting with. Check it out. And why not get NGC 6946, Caldwell number 12, the Fireworks Galaxy. It is July 4th, Fireworks Galaxy. Matter of fact, I'm surprised we haven't heard any fireworks going off because my neighbors have been lighting them off. So check out the Fireworks Galaxy. Cool, beautiful galaxy. Nice spiral. Definitely, you can see some stars and nebula regions in there. Check it out. And I was really stoked to find this picture that John Talbot got of the Barnard's Galaxy, which is actually a dwarf irregular. This is one of our dwarf irregular galaxies. So there it is. We have a dwarf irregular you can check out in Sagittarius. Great image of that. I've seen it in my 16. I have not tried it in my 152. John did get a picture of it with his 152. So that's cool. That's Caldwell Object 57 or NGC 6822. And you know what? For fun, I put our galaxy in there. I put the Milky Way in there because sometimes it's really fun to just drop in a wide field eyepiece, whether you have an SVX 80 or an SVX 180, whatever. Drop in that wide field eyepiece. Start down low in Sagittarius and Scorpius and just scan through our Milky Way. You'll see the dark nebulas, you'll see the star clouds, you'll see the star forming regions, you'll see open star clusters. It is sometimes just fun to scan through our Milky Way. It is Milky Way season. I love doing wide field photography with my digital SLR. Get to a dark sky site, get out of light pollution, take some shots of our Milky Way because it is a beautiful galaxy. Whether you're here in the northern hemisphere and our galactic core down on the southern horizon, or you're in the southern hemisphere or along the equator, and you have that beautiful Milky Way going across. It is Milky Way season, and enjoy our home galaxy. So there it is. Now, of course, what do we always end with? We end with binaries. And it's always fun to find some new binaries. So I have this one, Sigma Scorpii. Matter of fact, I think we should just go over to Sigma Scorpii right now because it is a fun one. So there is Scorpius right there. Actually, what's great about the Los Mandi mount is you can just unlatch the clutches and just swing it right around because sometimes, see, I grew up point and shoot, so I know that it's right there. I can get it, lock down these clutches a little bit. Boom. Awesome. Got it. Oh, yeah, look at that. Ooh, I like this one. You because it's a nice pair. You have a really bright primary and a fainter secondary. So you take that time to look, you'll see that detail. And yeah, you got that kind of bluish white primary, and that secondary is kind of a whitish color. So check it out for sure. And let's go to another one. Why not? Well, you got Delta Serpens, and I got some notes here. Nice close pair, kind of a yellowish white color. So get in there. Secondary is slightly fainter than the primary. This was a nice little treat. I enjoyed this one. All right. And then Mirfac, Lambda Ophiuchi. Get down there and check that one out. It is a nice tight pair. You got a white star, very close in brightness. Good test of seeing conditions. So this is tight. So if you have good seeing conditions, you'll be able to split those. And then Alberio. I absolutely love Alberio. Let me see if I can get Alberio. My house might be in the way, so let me see if I can get it. Oh, it's really close, really close. I don't know if I'll be able to get it. Let me try. My house is going to be just right in the way, but we're going to try. Oh, I love that one. You get this nice blue and gold, just a really nice binary to look at. Now, there's some studies out there, some debates on whether or not it's a visual binary or they're actually connected. So, we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to tell with some of these binaries because they have such long periods that you have to measure them for a long period of time to see study their motion, to see if they're bound to each other, if they're moving in the same direction or opposite directions, or yeah. So Alberio's kind of on the fence. A lot of stuff what I see is a visual binary. So, but I've also seen some things that they might be connected over a long period. So there you go. These are some fun binaries, and I always do try and find some good ones, some ones I haven't looked at before. Like, I'd never really looked at Delta Serpens, and I really enjoyed that one. So there you go. Now, it is July. The nights are actually getting slightly longer. We had the summer solstice last month, so we're gaining a little bit more night, which means more observing time. So get out there, enjoy those warm nights, and for some of us, get the mosquito repellent, because they can be vicious little critters out there. Like I'm out here in my front yard, I got my shade up, but I when the neighbors walk by and they want to look through the telescopes, I always let them, and it's fun. Getting out with your family. My son's getting into astrophotography, so that's fun. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, go find out where some of your observatories are. And some of these observatories have amazing public programs. Like Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff has a phenomenal public programs department. They got their new observation deck, their new visitor center, their new open sky planetarium. It is phenomenal. Mount Wilson, go see where Edwin Hubble discovered the expanding universe. It started with the VM slide for the redshift at Lowell, and then Edwin Hubble in the 20s. We are in the 100-year anniversary of the expanding universe. It's amazing. You have the Yerkes Observatory in southern Wisconsin, that 40-inch refractor. It's amazing. Here in Denver, we actually have Chamberlain Observatory. It's an old Clark telescope. When you start looking around, you'll find stuff. In Hawaii, you can go up and watch sunset on Mauna Kea. And they usually have like daytime viewing of the sun there, but you can see the Southern Cross in Hawaii. There are just so many observatories. The Lick Observatory, the Dearborn Observatory, I believe in the Chicago area. There are observatories all over the place, and go see these things. Like I said, this is where our hobby began. We stand on these giants, and you got the 40-inch Yerkes, the 24-inch Clark, the 200-inch Palomar, the 100-inch telescope on Mount Wilson, the 10-meter in Hawaii, and those telescopes, the IRTF, and it's just amazing when you get the opportunity. Oh, there's a firework right there. It's amazing when you can get the opportunity to go visit these telescopes. And like I said, some of these telescopes have amazing public programs department. So go out there, support your observatories, support your public programs. Go support your local astronomy club. Get involved. Absolutely. I know here in Colorado we have, the Colorado Springs Astronomical Society, the Denver Astronomical Society. So there are some very active groups out there. So get out there, have fun, observe, and you know what? Keep looking up.